Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Now, we normally take Sundays off, but I had to make an extra episode today because there are a few key developments that we need to cover before we start the new week. Especially relevant is a rather shocking story. Things do seem to be much worse than we expected in regards to the economy, which we'll cover in today's episode. But first, we need to cover a few salient updates related to this virus outbreak in China. HMPV, a virus causing flu or cold-like symptoms, has surged in China in recent weeks. Images of crowded hospitals and mask-wearing individuals in China have circulated widely on social media during comparisons to the early days of COVID-19. However, as we have discussed in previous videos, early reports of overwhelmed hospitals and a cover-up of a new virus appear to be exaggerated, and while there is strain on health facilities, the country is still able to manage the numbers. With memories of COVID-19 and the pandemic, as well as the initial outbreak and cover-up in Wuhan still fresh in many minds, there has been much global attention and even some panic, both internationally and domestically, on this current surge in cases in China. We've already explored the details of the outbreak and this particular virus in previous videos from this week, so for today we will note salient updates on the situation. The European Union has said that it is closely monitoring these cases following a spike in infections in northern China and as cases spread now to several countries. The European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control stated that cases in Europe remain consistent with seasonal norms but emphasise continued vigilance. Elsewhere, Indonesia has implemented enhanced screening now for flights from China and Malaysia, including requiring travellers to Bali to submit a health form 3 days before arrival. The US, similarly, is also watching developments in cases closely. Meanwhile, China has released new data on the seasonal surge of the illness. Results showed a notable rise in RSV cases among children under 4, alongside HMPV infections. Of course, some viewers will refuse to believe official Chinese statements, which is fair enough, it's understandable, but we still take note of them nonetheless. The World Health Organization, in its latest update over the weekend, emphasized that the trends of what is being seen in China align with normal seasonal patterns in temperate regions, while acknowledging the potential strain on healthcare systems due to multiple circulating pathogens. It urged calm. Health professionals urge calm too, noting that respiratory virus surges are not new. Amish Delja of the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security expressed on Friday, quote, "Post-COVID, there's a tendency to treat every outbreak as an emergency when it's not." End quote. We've been following this outbreak on China Update for over a week now, and so far it does seem like there is nothing to worry about at this point. The world is not facing a new pandemic or a global health emergency, for now at least. However, we will continue to follow developments closely. Next up, data from the China Trade Remedies Information, which is under Beijing's Ministry of Commerce, published this week, revealed an uptick in trade disputes initiated by a growing number of nations. China's export sector maintained robust activity in 2024, but the country encountered a record surge in trade barriers, with 160 new investigations targeting its goods, a sharp rise from 69 in 2023. If cases where China was one of several countries being investigated are included, the total climbs to 169 compared to 79 in 2023. Notably, the number of trading partners launching investigations rose from 18 to 28, with more developing nations such as Thailand, Peru, and Pakistan joining the list. Liang Yan, an economist speaking to Hong Kong-based The South China Morning Post this week, attributed the rise to preemptive measures by developing countries wary of a surge in Chinese imports, explaining, quote, "Many nations are concerned that China might redirect exports from the United States to their markets." End quote. India led the investigations, undermining Beijing's narrative that this is just the West turning to trade protectionism against China, initiating nearly a quarter of the cases, followed by the European Union with 21, more than double its 2023 figure. Brazil ranked third with 18 cases, a five-fold increase, with the United States launching 15 cases. Again, despite the claim from Beijing that this is mostly the United States trying to protect its own industries or keep China down, 2 of the 4 biggest countries initiating investigations into accusations of Chinese dumping are from the developing world. The investigations primarily focused on anti-dumping issues in industries like iron, steel, and chemicals, areas affected by China's production overcapacity due to a domestic real estate slump. While China's leadership flagged overcapacity as a significant challenge in late 2023, since the world started erecting trade barriers against it, Beijing now maintains that overcapacity is a Western fiction designed to keep China down. China should expect an even more bumpy trade environment in 2025, especially after President-elect Donald Trump re-enters the White House. Next up, we have a rather shocking story related to the economy, but just quickly, as of filming this, the channel has just hit 99,000 subscribers. Less than 1,000 subscribers away from that key milestone of 100,000. It would be amazing to hit this milestone in the next few days. If you have not subscribed and you think you would watch another episode of China Update, or if you've watched a few and you do enjoy the sort of work that I do here with the channel, it would be a wonderful help if you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you're on top of these updates as they're released. It would be amazing, like I said, to hit 100,000 subscribers in the next few days. If you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to like. I look forward to celebrating with you all when the channel hits 100,000. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. Let's continue. We end today on the economy. China's crackdown on its economists deepens this week. This is an area we've been following closely for about a month now. According to the Wall Street Journal, Gao Shanwen, chief economist of SDIC Securities, has been banned from speaking publicly after making comments about China's GDP and economic policy on a recent trip to Washington, D.C. that went against the official line. According to the Wall Street Journal, quote, "At a Washington forum last month, a prominent Chinese economist raised doubts about Beijing's economic management and said China's economy might have grown at less than half the roughly 5% pace flaunted by authorities. When Xi Jinping found out, he was furious. According to people familiar with the matter, the Chinese leader ordered an investigation of Gao Shenwen, chief economist at state-owned SDIC Securities, who had frequently advised the government on economic and financial policies. She then ordered authorities to discipline him." End quote. 2 comments that Gao made at the forum, hosted jointly by the Peterson Institute for International Economics and a Chinese think tank, angered Xi, the people said. One questioned the reliability of Chinese growth data. Quote, "We do not know the true number of China's real growth figure," end quote, Gao said at the December 12th event. He continued with, quote, "My own speculation is that in the past 2 to 3 years, the real gross domestic product growth number on average might be around 2%, even though the official number is close to 5%. End quote. Xi was further incensed, the Wall Street Journal writes, to learn that Gao cast doubts regarding Beijing's ability to take the steps needed to bolster growth. Gao said at the forum, quote, "Their efforts to stimulate the economy will be very opportunistic. In the end, I don't think they can very confidently deliver what they have promised." End quote. Veteran China analyst Bill Bishop observed on the news this week, quote, "I saw Gao at a non-public roundtable with his group the day after the PIIE meeting. He spoke, but not much. The rest of the delegation was fairly candid. No one seemed confident the policy measures to date are adequate. This kind of punishment for speaking about economic data and policy just makes it harder for anybody paying attention inside or outside China to have confidence in the policy direction." End quote. And Gao was not alone. Last year, Zhu Hengpeng, a senior economist at one of China's top think tanks, was placed under investigation, detained and removed from his post after he allegedly made remarks in a private group chat that was critical of Xi's management of the economy. The punishment of Gao and other outspoken economists is a blow for investors trying to assess the true state of China's increasingly opaque market, and increasingly pointing to an economy much worse than Beijing admits, and still getting worse. As the Wall Street Journal writes, economists at Barclays wrote to clients in October that they noticed discrepancies between a sudden improvement in China's third quarter headline economic activity data and the country's weakening economic indicators, such as wage growth, exports, and a purchasing managers index. Economists at Nomura also noted the inconsistencies, saying the data from alternative sources for the country's property and financial sectors appeared at odds with official data points. Put simply, in China, things are much worse than we feared. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Sunday, have a restful weekend, and I will see you for a new week of updates tomorrow.